Hey there, everyone. I'm Marc Alcubé, the host of Expat Expert Podcast. This video is extracted of a longer interview that I had with Abigail Paul, a stand-up comedian from the United States who moved to Germany more than 20 years ago, and her experience on how to do comedy in Europe.
So you always have had this multiple countries, food, cultures, running around.
And when you compare cities, and it's something that we discussed a couple of times with my girlfriend, actually, she's from Frankfurt. I think there is something in Frankfurt that they made pretty well, which is not doing this segregation in neighborhoods.
Yeah.
When you live in Frankfurt, if you don't live in the very, very, very expensive parts of Frankfurt, really posh, next level thing, and even with there, like normally your neighbors are a bunch of different nationalities, and it's like there is no neighbor for, like, let's say, for one culture and one neighbor for another, and that.
There's some laws about that in Germany. I forget what they are, but they really went out of their way to make sure you wouldn't have any kind of ghettoization of any group or culture. In Vienna, they do it as well. It's like a tactic. It's not by chance. People really don't want groups of people to not kind of be diverse and merge together.
And it works. I think
it does work, yeah.
And in that sense, like, you arrived to Frankfurt and you never said, okay, I would like to move somewhere else in Europe, for example?
Yeah, well, there was an opportunity, as I said. I've been to Berlin a few times, and my husband and I almost could have moved there. And in fact, he moved there for a year and we kind of tried it out, but it's not our town. Frankfurt is very small. Like, Athens is gorgeous, but it's very, very big. And I don't function that well in places that are very big. So I ride my bicycle everywhere. If I have to take a train, it's 10 minutes. Like, things are pretty convenient and close.
Yes.
And green, I have to say. It's very parky. The air is pretty clean, especially for a big city. So yeah, there's a lot of, again, just really basic quality of life things that maybe tourists wouldn't be like, oh, look at Frankfurt. But if you live there and it's your city, it's great.
I agree.
Yeah.
It's one of the things that definitely we miss here. Like, there's no parks in the city. It's a massive concrete Athens.
It's a lot of concrete. Yeah, I noticed.
It's gray as fuck.
It's pretty gray. Yeah.
And no parks. Well, there is the botanical garden here in the center, which is the national park thing next to Syntagma, next to the parliament. And in the center, I mean, even the Acropolis Hill, it's not green. It's stone, therefore it's not.
Yeah, everything is gorgeous. Like, there's a lot of marble everywhere, but then it's like there's a lot of stone and marble and gray. And yeah, I wonder how people. I'm here it's March, but in summer that would be pretty tough.
I mean, it's like something in between. And Frankfurt, it's not one of the most harsh temperatures in Germany, that's for sure. But at the same time, you're giving away, like, the fact of having 2 months here of extreme heat.
Yes.
For not having 6 months of not seeing the sun in Frankfurt. No?
Yeah, you don't see the sun in Frankfurt, which is fine with me because I got all sunned out by the time. Yeah, we come from Florida. I'm good on sun. Like, I racked it all up, I banked it, and I'm good for life. So,
I think for me, winters in Frankfurt, the most difficult part was definitely, like, the fact of not seeing the sun. Not even the temperature or whatever, because at the end, as German says, if you have good clothes, you can survive any kind of winter, no? Let's say like this, but not seeing the sun from a person from Barcelona.
I know that really bothers people, but for some reason, I've just never had that gene where I give a shit if there's sun. I just don't care. And in fact, I just think, like, it's going to give me skin cancer and I'd prefer to avoid it. And I wear hats and sunscreen. So I'm not a sun person. I do notice when it's sunny. I do notice, and it makes me happy, of course. I'm not like a crazy person, but I don't, something about it doesn't intrinsically move me or not. I'm just like, I go about my day. Oh, it's great, fine. I just don't notice it that much.
It's not in your first points on the
exactly.
List.
Cool. So works for me.
Nice. Do you miss anything from America, like, that you would like to bring to Frankfurt, actually?
These I would bring to Frankfurt. I mean, when I go back and I visit America, there's an ease of being in your own language and your own culture that you never leave as an expat. Like, there's just something, like, even every once in a while I'll hear someone speaking American English and I'll pick it up, and you just, like, you tune into your own thing. So it doesn't matter how many years you live abroad, you'll still always be what you were raised to be in the culture you come from. the things I miss are not good for me, so it's great that it didn't work out. Like I would bring waffles and fried chicken. I would bring the worst stuff from America to enjoy it, but it's not good for me. So it's probably better that
To leave it there.
to live in Frankfurt, where I cannot get access to incredibly bad food. That's what I miss from America, the junk food.
Cool. You said like you went 22 years. You lived in Frankfurt for 22 years. Like it was always like as a stand-up comedian. You were always pursuing this dream, or like
No. So I came really like very much like thinking I would leave after a year. And then that kind of switched to like 2 years, 3 years, 5 years pretty quick. And then at some point, I studied theater. So I'm a performance major, and I love to be on stage. And there's no other way to say it. It's just like I do really love that. And I kind of grew up in the stage and in the theater. And a friend of mine who was doing some amateur theater was like, oh, why don't you come do this with us? And I was like, no, that's okay. And then I was like, I kind of got my arm twisted. And then I started doing some theater stuff. And then I wound up meeting a professional theater person from New York. We hadn't known each other. She was also American. And we kind of vibed. And we both really like the same kind of theater. We like to keep it really simple but meaningful. So we said like 3 women and 3 chairs. That's all you need. We don't love all the lights and the costumes and the flourish, And so we started working together, and then we wound up doing our own theater company in Frankfurt. So I did that for 10 years. I ran a theater company in Frankfurt. Yeah.
I didn't know.
Yeah. Called Theater Language Studio Frankfurt, which is a very Ponzi name upon reflection and does not work well for SEO. So I'm really glad I learned that lesson.
I just changed the name of the podcast because of SEO reasons.
There you go. Exactly. Yeah. SEO is so important, folks. But we loved the work, and we wound up eventually kind of almost shifting, not entirely, but shifting a lot from theatrical productions to improv. And the reason for that is because, well, first of all, it's fun. It's a really lot of fun. It's a great art form. And had quite a lot of training in it. And Renee and I both got a lot of training in it further when we started like really gaining a solid interest in it. And there was just something really lovely about teaching it. So we taught for 10 years as well. We taught a lot of classes and workshops, and there's something really beautiful about improvisation because it really just depends on listening and agreement. And that's all you have to do to make it beautiful. And so we did that, and it was like I was saying, like we'd have a class that'd be like our class were like a little United Nations group, someone from Sri Lanka, someone from Frankfurt, someone from Greece, like Italy, like France. Everyone just didn't necessarily fit into Frankfurt yet, and they'd come take our improv classes, and they would have this incredible strong connectivity in this activity. And so most of our students were like not trying to be performers, but they were just like worked in IT or banks or whatever. But they loved.
We need to escape.
they needed an escape from the creative. And something that is really important to me as a creative person is that creativity doesn't belong to creative people. I think too many people think that creativity is like what artists do, like as a painting artist or even performing artists. But like I think everyone needs to keep creativity and art in their lives. So we did that as like again a nonprofit. And then the pandemic came, and that was really tough. And I had already transitioned to about a year before the pandemic, starting with stand-up comedy. Okay. And when the pandemic came, it just was like, I wanted to pursue stand-up comedy. I had wanted to many times, but I knew how selfish and like hard it was. Like selfish in the sense that you can't give your time to anyone else. If you're going to do this, you really have to just drill down on it and like write jokes, and it's discipline and writing and memorizing. And that had never been like my skill set, but I was like, I've always wanted to do it. I'm going to try it. And then, like I said, it was kind of a perfect storm. The pandemic came, and it was a much better time to be pursuing solo things than group things, ensemble things where we could all infect each other. So I basically transitioned out of improv and theater into stand-up. But I'm doing a little improv again, just, to keep it alive, because I love it.
I went the other way around, I suppose. Like,
oh yeah, because you're now doing improv.
I'm now
right?
doing improv. I have improv this afternoon.
Excellent.
Which is, I always like improv. I never did it regularly. Like I always did one workshop here, one workshop there. In a little bit more like thingy. And at the end, I come from the more traditional theater scene. Moved to musical stuff.
Okay.
Then ended doing stand-up comedy because I always wanted to try it and whatever, realizing that it's not my thing at all.
I see. Okay.
It's not that I'm not good. It's just
I thought you were
that-
good. I remember that. I remember thinking that guy's pretty good. So
Yeah, but it's the amount of work that
It
you
is
need
a
to
lot of
put- to put inside of it that kicks me out, because it's, I mean, one thing is talking like in a podcast, no? And
Sure.
when it's like a conversation that it can fluently go and nothing is incorrect, and you don't need to have a punchline every two blocks or whatever.
right.
I stressed the fuck out to write the whole like monologues and everything, and I was like, okay. And when I tried improv, I was like, okay, this is where you just say the things that comes to your head, and
Yeah.
if they are funny, it's okay.
If you liked this short video out of the full episode, you can find the link to it around here and in the description below. Of course, if you are also interested in checking out other episodes, please subscribe and like.